All right. So, welcome to Real Estate Nightmares, episode 2 with Carlos.
And Miguel, hey guys.
Hey, what's going on, guys? We're here to look over some more real estate nightmares. Uh, I know you guys probably liked the first episode where we looked at all the nasty, disgusting, crazy stuff that's going on. Um, Anything you want to share, Miguel, before we start?
Ooh, these are rough. These are rough. That's all I'll say. Hopefully you never find yourself in any situations like this.
Like, are you a glutton for punishment? Like, do you like looking at these nasty houses, Miguel?
Not really. I don't get a sense of satisfaction out of it, but I do like looking at it and thinking like, oh, this is actually really easily prevented. It's almost like when you see a car accident and you're like, oh, well, if they had just, worn their seatbelts, changed the tires, fixed their oil situation, they would have been fine. It's exactly the same thing.
Because I see some of this stuff and I'm like, God. It
It's
just makes
painful. It
makes me it makes me glad that I'm doing seller financing and not rentals, which is
Well, you can do rentals the right way. There's a right way to do these things. So
okay.
you avoid these situations. And the key word is avoid, 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 avoid. Most of the stuff you can circumvent before it ever becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that we're going to see today is because a landlord wasn't paying attention or didn't protect themselves properly.
Okay. So let's dive in.
All right, perfect. Let me share the screen here. All right, here we go.
Oh my Lord. Here we go.
So first up, I know off to a great start. We got three. So don't peek early here. All right, here we go.
The renters refuse to let
I'm
you
bring the
see the
volume way down.
house. My God.
So this I can almost guarantee was like a hoarder situation that just got out of control. Um, yeah, this is definitely like years, if not a decade of just buildup from
Wow.
somebody not taking care of their property.
Wow.
Let's see. Oh, it's just homeboy talking. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let
Wait,
me
wait,
jump
let's go
back a
back.
little
Let's
bit.
go back. So
Yeah.
what happens in, like, tell me what's going on here because this obviously just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can look at the level of grime and buildup. This is somebody that just did not take care of their unit, right? So let's assume that this went on for months, right?
Mhm.
An easy way to prevent that is just doing a quarterly inspection or setting the expectation that there will be a quarterly inspection. That'll avoid you leasing to a tenant like this in the first place. The other thing is like even just doing like a yearly walkthrough to make sure everything's good,
Mhm.
or responding to maintenance and repair calls, right? And like just kind of having that constant communication with your tenant, making sure everything's okay. A lot of landlords kind of take that extremely passive approach where, as long as the tenant doesn't reach out to me and they pay the rent on time, then everything's fine. That might not be the case, right? So, again, proper vetting is always important, but
Mhm.
keeping an eye on your property, making sure that somebody walks through every once in a while, just make sure everything's good. At least in that first, year and a half that you have that tenant there, you have to be able to build the level of trust. And clearly that never happened here.
Okay, just pause it right here. So we
Yeah.
got all this junk. Like, how many years of buildup would you say this is?
Oh, this is probably a good 2 or 3 years.
Dang.
Yeah, this is somebody like really just neglecting and letting, letting the tenants essentially their mental health slip to a point where they really just aren't capable of taking care of the property, taking care of
God, I
themselves.
got egg
So
cartons. What is this? We got some lettuce here.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. Everything ends up everywhere, right? So like, this is like groceries, like literally trash. Like you can see the trash bags there, like literally
Yes,
just sitting there because they
literally trash.
yeah, they never felt like taking it out,
Oh my
for
God.
one reason or another. People live this way.
Good Lord. And like that, how did they like, I don't know. Like, how did they get past, how did they even get past screening?
Oh, I that one thing that I always say is people people's motivations change from one day to the next, right? So one of two things may have happened here. Either the tenant wasn't screened properly to begin with, they never got a landlord reference or anything, or life happened and somebody's mental health slipped, and eventually then ended up living this way. The big thing is this does not happen overnight. Like this isn't a 1 week to the next week thing, right? Like this got this bad because nobody was paying attention. And
Wow.
that's true for the tenant and their, circle of friends and family, but it's also true for the landlord. Like they never had somebody walk through the property. They never did an inspection. And
Damn.
that's why I ended up this way.
2 years of no inspections. Good God.
Yeah. I mean, this could have been 2 or 3 years. And really all of this falls back on the landlord more so than the tenant, because a lot of times people living in this kind of situation, they really can't help themselves,
Mhm.
right? But it is your investment. It is your responsibility to make sure that you are navigating it correctly. And part of it means getting eyes on it every once in a while.
Ooh, good Googie Moogie. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one. So you got to share your screen
All
again.
right, there we go. Oh,
All right.
let me minimize these guys. There we go. All right, here we go.
All right. This looks
Well,
good. This
I'll have
doesn't
to.
look so bad.
You'll see.
Eh, what a transition. Good God. Oh
So
my
yeah, just look at the
God.
interior. So this one is a mess, right? But no property damage, thankfully. But what it does make me wonder is how long this landlord had to go through that eviction process in order to get that tenant out. And then also, how much money did this cost? How much money did it cost to get the property back to where it needed to be, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all of this comes into play, and all of it is something you got to watch out for when you're screening your tenants.
Good God. It's the
Yeah, that's
typical,
just
it's like, it's almost like, and I hate to sound mean, but it's almost like looking at a rat's nest or like
oh yeah,
a
absolutely.
mouse nest.
Absolutely. And,
It
and
is.
this is just somebody that was negligent. They didn't care about the property. Probably shouldn't have been ever like that lease should have never been signed in the first place. But for one reason or another, it was. And part of the reason why I selected this video is because I do want to highlight that there is an opportunity to recover from these things, right? You're not going to go out of business just because you had one bad tenant. But it is expensive, it is stressful, and maybe you won't go out of business from one, but two, three, four, five. Yeah, that might actually,
Yeah.
deter you from being able to continue investing.
Well, how much would it cost to repair that? Like, so how much would that person probably spend on that cleanup?
So just on the cleanup, we're probably talking at least $1,000.
Mm,
That's, two or three people working the day, maybe a day and a half to get everything cleaned up. And then not to mention you get into the detail work when you get into the house, right? So
yeah.
like all of this, the
Oh, you got to share
oven,
your
whatever
screen
the
again.
condition of the cabinets is. Oh, I gotcha.
I mean, that's like a vacation. Vacation just
Yeah, I
off the
mean,
books.
yeah, that's a vacation. That's several car payments. It's a lot. It's a lot. And people act like this is like a casual thing, or that most landlords can just eat this cost. And I can
Hmm.
tell you, if you're just early on in your career, like that might be your profits for most of the year as a
Mm,
landlord, right?
mm,
Like let's say you're cash flowing, $150 a month. That's 6 months of money right there, just
yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Going. It's like having a house for nothing if you're not careful.
It is. It is. You're doing somebody else a favor.
Dang.
You're not
Just
a business. You're a charity at that point.
man. Okay.
Yeah, just all of that detail work, and not to mention any damage that we can't see just because of
Right.
the
There's got to
clutter
be
and
like
trash.
mold and
Hmm.
God knows what in there.
Yeah. All right,
Jeez.
let's jump into the next one.
All right. Here we go. Landlord nightmare. The fridge died a month ago. Oh my God. I already know what that means.
To leave your house.
Good
So
God.
already a mess,
Oh.
bugs and trash.
Oh.
So yeah, you can also tell because of how dark it is in here. There's probably
Yeah.
something going on with the electrical as well.
Mm. I mean, he's just telling his experience. Good God. Oh no, he's a
Yeah.
junk remover. He's a junk remover.
Yep.
He's like, hey, this is what we do. We get rid of this stuff,
Yeah.
right?
But that's the thing. That's why it's important to have that network of vendors that can come in and help you with whatever it is that you need. But yeah, this is again a situation. Tenants left or they got evicted and they just left the place a mess. There's unreported damage, all stuff left behind.
God.
It gets crazy.
Tell
And
me
then hold on,
why.
I
Tell
do
me
want
why
to
all
jump
the
back.
mattresses kind of look the same for some
I
reason.
that I don't know, man. I try not to judge, but I do want to point this out though. So we got a looks like a 2 or 3 bedroom house. And
Yeah.
look how many mattresses in this room. One, two, three.
Yeah.
Another, and this is a bunk bed. So it's
Yeah.
like how many people were living here, right?
Yeah.
And then the other question is, did the landlord know that he was renting a 2 bedroom a house or a 2 bedroom apartment to a family with at least what 3 kids, maybe
Yeah.
four, right?
Yeah. Somebody was lying
It's
on their application.
yeah. Either someone's lying on the application, or the landlord's being negligent, and this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't follow the correct way of doing things. You end up with situations like this. People
Good
destroy your
God.
property.
I just feel like the mattresses always look like that too for some reason. There's
Yeah.
like half
I'm
there's a
always
blanket on there, and then there's like I don't know understand why, but it's something I've just caught pattern I've
Yeah, I'm
seen.
always amazed. I'm always amazed by the amount of stuff that's just left behind whenever stuff like this
Yeah.
happens.
They just
Like
say
because
Yeah.
Yeah, like all of this was value at some point. I don't know what that is, like wallpaper, ceiling tiles or something. It's just like it's just all this stuff that
They just
all
get
just
tired or
turns
something.
into
They just get
trash.
like they're like, oh, F it.
Yeah,
Just lose it.
it all turns into trash. All turns into landfill.
God. He's just like,
Yep.
man, this is what I do. I walk in this. He's inhaling that every day. Good God.
Yeah, that's his that's his job, is what he's good at. And that's the thing. It's you have to make sure you keep an eye on your investments because if you do this the wrong way, if you have one bad tenant, that could set you back for the entire year. Not only that, like it could actually do significant damage to your property and preclude your ability to make money even further down the line.
Mm, How many more clips do we have left, Miguel?
That was our last one for today.
Oh God. Okay, so please, like, I know this is real estate nightmares, but it sounds like it's punished Carlos as with as much care as he can. What tell us, like, tell us what, how can we prevent this? I know we talked about a little bit about it, but like, how can
Yeah,
we
yeah.
like prevent stuff like this from happening? How can
So in the
we? Yeah.
Yeah, in the examples that we saw, the biggest thing is proper screening and proper inspections. You want to set up the expectation to that tenant, like, hey, I want you to enjoy this apartment. I want you to live here and be comfortable and happy, but I do need to keep an eye on things. And it is my responsibility as a landlord to make sure that things are going well, right? So I am going to come back, once every 3 or 4 months, just walk through real quick, drive by, give you a call, make sure everything's good, ask you to send me some photos. And it may sound overbearing, but there has to be a level of trust that's built over time, right?
Mhm.
If you have 500 units, I don't expect you to do that for every single tenant. But if you have somebody that was kind of an iffy person on the application, make sure you put it in the lease. And even if you don't enforce it, even if you never make those calls or make those inspections, at the very least, they know, like, hey, they have a right to come over here and look at the property and do an inspection, right?
Mm.
You're setting up the correct expectation. The second thing is obviously, screening, right? Like make sure you call those previous landlords, make sure you check references with jobs and everything else. And even I've had situations where with like college rentals, I call old roommates and just to see how well they did with the
Mm.
apartment and how they treated it.
Mm.
Like the more information that you can get on the front end while you still have leverage, the better off you'll be on the back end, right? You want to be one of the best recommendations that I ever got is if you're not feeling 100% secure in renting to somebody and you're still considering it, have them send you a FaceTime or a video tour of their current place and see what kind of condition that's in,
Oh, that's a
right?
good one.
So
I didn't think about that.
there's yeah, there's a lot of other options that you can use in order to protect yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to recognize that as soon as you hand over that keys, as soon as that lease is executed, you lose all the leverage that you have in this situation. And now the tenant has all of the power. So the only thing that you can do is to protect yourself ahead of time. And that's
Wow.
with what you write in the lease, how well you do your tenant screening, and how well you set up the expectation for inspections and communication.
Wow. Wow. Miguel, thank you for giving us the great information. Where can we find out more about this?
You can check us out at PTI. And I'm always around if you guys ever have any questions. Always happy to be your resource.
Awesome. All right, guys. That's episode 2 of Real Estate Nightmares. Carlos.
Catch you guys later. I'm Miguel.
All right. See you guys. Bye bye.